Welcome everybody to another JodoCast discussion video thingy. We're gonna go over Atomic Mass Games Ministravaganza, which happened last weekend. There was a lot of big news for X-Wing and Legion and Armada, I guess, right?
I
Hit us with
mean,
all the
it's
Armada news, Leo. You got 30 seconds.
they did say its name.
And that's all the Armada
Exactly.
news.
All the Armada news.
That's it.
Sorry, I'm still recovering from almost dying of something the other day. No, they said
The
Armada's
lack of
gonna-
Armada news.
Yes, yes, the lack of Armada news nearly killed me. They did say Armada is going to be at Adepticon. That's basically, I believe, the only time during all of Ministravaganza Armada got mentioned. So
we're just gonna walk
better than nothing.
Yeah, we're gonna walk through everything for X-Wing and then all the stuff for Legion, because there's a bit more for Legion than there was for X-Wing, and that's what we're doing. So strap in. There's a lot to talk about.
All right. Well, for X-Wing, one of the first things we finally got to see was the Razor Crest and the cards that came with it.
Some of the cards.
Some of the cards.
Yeah, because we got. They showed. What's weird to me initially here is the name of this pilot is The Mandalorian, and the subtitle is his actual name.
That struck me as very bizarre,
Yeah.
but
Usually there's like some kind of gameplay mechanic for that sort of decision, but I can't figure out what that might be. The only thing I can possibly think of is that somehow, like, they were developing this before we knew the character's name, and then, like, they learned it, and, like, the top half of the card had been, like, finalized, so they could, like, squeeze in they hadn't come up with a subtitle yet. I don't know. None of it makes sense to me.
Wow. Yeah. Even if they were designing it beforehand, I don't see how they couldn't have got the name put in there before they finalized.
Yeah. Like I said, it doesn't make
they've had plenty of time.
But his ability, which is to change one of your blanks into a focus, I kind of like it. But you can
if
only
someone's chasing you, essentially.
Well, they don't necessarily have to be chasing you. You just have to be in their firing arc, so they could be coming straight at you or whatever too. Also,
oh, true.
But it has to be of 2 or more ships. So it's a nice ability to have. But I like that it's while you defend or perform an attack, so it's not like it's something you have to save for one or the other. You can do it with both, assuming you have like more than one focus token, that is.
Yeah. Other news is I think this card might be the first time we know what kind of ship the Razor Crest is, an ST-70 assault ship. I don't think that was anywhere up until this card got revealed.
Think so.
There's probably something that would have been in the canceled visual guide to the Mandalorian.
And let's see, they did say he was a medium base ship, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Everything else is kind of pretty standard.
Straightforward.
Damage. Fairly beefy hull, not a lot of shields. But red barrel roll.
They showed his movement dial, which I don't think we need to get into because
we had it somewhere.
I didn't tweet it.
Oh.
It's not on there.
I thought I saw it when I was scrolling through. Anyways, it's got a lot of different maneuvers on it.
Yeah. It also has the one that stood out to me is it can hit the brakes. It has a red 0 maneuver.
Yeah, it's a very full dial. We've got the child also.
Another card that doesn't use the character's name, despite us knowing it.
Yeah, I also thought weird. That was odd.
Yeah, but I mean, this is also.
I mean, if
I guess he only has the Razor Crest really in season 1, right? Does it?
He
Is
has
the
the
Razor
stuff
Crest
No.
until
blown up,
halfway through
or is it in
episode
season
2.
2?
it's the
Episode
end
5
of season 2.
Yeah, it makes it most of the way through the season.
Okay, couldn't remember when it got blown up exactly. But either way, I guess this is a shot of. I mean, it's a season 1
It's
piece
season
of
1.
artwork, so it's back then he didn't have his name yet.
Yeah, but we know it.
Huh.
Back
It's-
when they
it-
first
it-
designed this card, and they were too lazy to change it.
It feels to me like some sort of licensing thing where they were like, "This is what we've approved for you," and then later they're like, "Can we?" They're like, "Oh, those forms have already been signed off from Lucasfilm, and we're done." It's interesting that it's Imperial, Rebel, or Scum. Basically,
Yeah,
he's like a
everyone.
because
He's
if you
getting tossed around
equip him,
everybody.
yeah, and then you can just pretend, okay, he's like my little buddy or he's my captive. Doesn't really matter.
Uh-huh.
But if you have him, somebody on the other team has to equip Merciless Pursuit. Um, oh, okay.
Sorry.
Well, so yeah. If you have Force, so if you put him on a character with Force, you can no longer regen Force because he does give you 2 extra. So you could put him on a ship that has Force. Like you could put him on Ventress or something, but now she can no longer regen Force. So it's like you have 3 for the whole game, which I guess is a way to mitigate. Like if you got 2 extra Force and you could still regen all the time, that would be too good.
Yeah, but it does give you a
Oh, yeah.
mechanism still to recover, which is after you whenever you take damage, you get to recover a Force.
You can hit right those little arrows when you have multiple.
Whatever.
This is the Merciless
He does not
Pursuit.
participate in this trash website.
After you perform an attack, if the defender has the child, you can get a target lag. So basically, you're more likely to get shot at if you're holding the child, and it's going to be easier for your enemies to hit you, or at least the guy who has this card attached.
Yeah, I don't know if I would necessarily play him on a character that already has Force.
Yeah, it definitely seems better on a character without Force.
Or I guess on one that already has recurring. If it's something that
Sure.
Because there are other stuff that are basically just one-time uses and stuff, and this would basically let you use that thing 2 more times, which could be good.
Yeah.
Could be bad. It's always so hard to kind of judge some of these X-wing stuff because you never know what the points are for them,
Or what other upgrades you can combo with it, because all we know is that the Razor Crest has a crew slot. We don't know what else you can put on it. You can make assumptions, but we just don't know.
Yeah.
They also throughout all of their streams, they were doing a really cool job of showing off different artwork that they had commissioned.
Yeah.
This is an artwork that'll be on one of the cards in the pack. They didn't say what the expansion was. They just wanted to show off this artwork, and I really like it. I like those pit droids.
I really liked how they showed off not just artwork, but the development of the artwork, like going through some of the concept sketches and stuff like that. I thought that was a really neat thing for them to show off and kind of give people a view of.
Yeah, and they say things like, "Oh, well, this is what we started with, but then we were like, well, this character shouldn't, look so heroic, so let's find a different angle and walk through the sketches." That was a cool little behind the scenes thing.
Is it just
I like.
me, or are Grogu's ears a little too big though?
They do look kind of long. I'd have to compare it with the shot from the show.
Another ship they announced was the Mandalorian Gauntlet ship, which is gonna be huge.
Interesting that it's called a Gauntlet Fighter. Maybe it's not canon anymore, but I thought it had like a more Mandalorian language type name, like Commerk, Kom.
Well, I think it does. It's just like the Fang. It's called the Fang Fighter, but it also has like an official designation that
Oh, okay.
like totally is I can't think of it
Unpronounceable.
right now. So I imagine it's probably something like that.
This is exciting. They said that this was a ship that they had been wanting to make all the way back like years ago at FFG, and it was always a ship that was barely too big to be a large base ship, but way too small to be an epic ship. And so it never quite like got off the ground. So I'm curious, they didn't end up showing a picture of the model, but they said it'll be a large base ship.
They
And
did say it sounds like it's gonna. I don't know. Simone kept doing this.
oh, so
Which I
it'll have
was-
rotating wings
Yeah.
like the Fang Fighter. Or maybe she was just iffy on the whole concept. Either it could go either way. I think this is one of my favorite Star Wars ships. I love this ship. Got the Lego set up on the shelf. There's a new Lego set of this out right now, but I really like this ship, and I think it's cool that it seems like at least for Bo-Katan, as we'll see in a second, she's got like a card for nearly every faction, and they all have different abilities. Because what
Yeah.
does this one do? After a friendly ship at range 0 to 2 activates, you can spend a charge. If you do, that ship can get a strain token to remove one non-stress red or orange token. So that's helping people, sort
Yeah,
of.
I liked it. It's got rear and forward arcs on it.
But yeah, that's her separatist card. And then she's got a Republic card, and I think there's a Empire card and a Rebel card.
Yeah, that one. Well, that one looks like that's
That one's
scum.
Scum. There's a Scum one. I'm pretty sure there's not a Rebel card. Maybe there's a Rebel card. I'm not familiar enough with the colors on those cards. I'm pretty sure there's an Empire one and a Rebel one, in addition to Separatist and Republic. I think like Resistance and First Order are the only factions she's not able to fly for. And they showed an upgrade card. I don't think there's a picture in that tweet of Clan Ren something or other. It is Clan Ren Commandos. It's a upgrade card that takes 2 crew slots. It has 2 charges, and then basically you can spend a charge to drop it like a bomb, and it's a little token that lets you poop out these little Mandalorian guys who can fly around, and they're like the little mini ship that can. They said how much they loved creating something where you can have Mandalorians like go punch TIE fighters. I
Yeah,
think
they've
this
got
is
the-
cool.
Is it? Yeah, they've got the Mandalorian super commandos here in the tweet that are similar.
Yeah. Oh, that's the card you use when you, because you equip the like card that lets
The
you
Clan
poop them
Ren,
out, and
and
then
then-
that's the stats. There must be like a different card for Clan Ren where they might have different stats, but that's you have a card that like they're on board, and then you can poop them out, and that's their stats for the little token that flies around. I think that's fun. I feel like that's something people wanted in X-Wing, like when the game came out. You're like, why can't I have like space stormtroopers?
What?
And now this makes the most sense because we've seen them like in space doing stuff in some of the cartoons. I think that's cool, especially because
That was the thing people were asking for?
I don't know. I don't know if they're like I remember back in the day, people would come up with like kind of concepts for custom games that had like smaller scale things like probe droids and guys with jetpacks and stuff. And now we have it. I think it looks fun.
Yeah, I think they should be pretty cool.
I'm sure we'll see some cool like custom 3D prints that you can use instead of whatever token you're supposed to use. Make them to scale so they're just like
Well, I
tiny.
was wondering if they would make, like you were saying about some 3D printed miniatures to go on there. Would it be kind of like almost the scale of how the fighter squadrons are to the Armada ships?
I feel like it would be smaller because in Armada, scale isn't really.
Probably, but that's
I,
true too.
for the most part, in X-Wing, I think they try really hard to keep things to scale with each other. In Armada, it's,
Yeah. I mean,
it's
Sure.
Armada. You can't
for
do
the
that in
most part,
Armada.
except for the epic ships. The epic ships are.
Yeah, epic ships are at a different scale.
Yeah. But all the fighter stuff is fairly well. I mean, you always see people arguing about
Well,
some of them, like the A-wing and
A-wings.
stuff like that.
That's just because in especially the older ships from the original trilogy, there wasn't a consistent scale. Like shot to shot in the movie, it's gonna go up and down by like 20 feet in length because they're using different scale models and the point of reference is different.
Yeah.
So they said there will be a card pack that contains Mandalorian themed cards. And they showed 2 of them. So there's going to be more card packs of stuff, which is cool.
I think that's always a good thing, especially when there's. I'm guessing there's enough. Well, I was gonna say enough necessary reprints, but considering, I guess points are still not on the card, so that's not a consideration. So maybe there aren't a lot of reprints with second edition.
A lot of the card pack stuff for X-Wing, I think part of it is, there's all these new characters, but we've released those ships already.
Yeah.
But you want this character in that ship, so let's just put him in a card pack.
Yeah, I do like that they're doing this as a card pack rather than being like, well, I guess we'll re-release it with this mini again with a slightly different paint job, which I appreciate, especially for like all these new like TIE LN pilots, because I already have 15 TIE fighters. I don't need any more.
Yeah. So
if I had to buy more, I guess I would, but I'd rather not, especially not with the new price hikes coming.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a podcast on that coming out in there.
Yeah, check out the JodoCast episode 134 for everything you need to know about how the prices are going up. The ISB Jingoist, a heartless enforcer. The artwork, he's flying over Mandalore, so I guess this is some sort of guy who.
I was trying to figure that out too, because they were like, yeah, Mandalorian themed cards. I'm like, we never saw Mandalore in the Mandalorian, so
Well,
at least that I can think of.
Well,
did we?
When they said Mandalorian themed cards, I interpret that as the Mandalorian, the type of character and world and culture in Star Wars, not the television series.
I took it to mean the television series because that's everyone's first reference for Mandalorian anymore.
Not me.
Well, no, because you're a man of culture.
And as such, I can look at the art and say that is what's it called? City. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sundari.
Square Jaw.
There we go.
Square Jaw City.
Yeah. And the little Boba Fett chest diamond everywhere in the architecture.
Yeah.
I guess this is just some sort of like Mandalore cop. Choose an enemy ship at range 1 and your firing arc.
Would that have appeared in what was it, the season 5 of Rebels opener where they went to Mandalore? Am I making that up?
Only 4 seasons of Rebels, but
that's what I meant. Season 4.
If we had seen it anywhere, it would have been there. I don't remember seeing any TIE fighters, but
I don't remember, but yeah, if it was there, it was there. I mean, and it may not have appeared in anywhere. They could have just been.
Yeah, in any case,
what are they doing? Making stuff up?
They did make some stuff up, which I was excited by, which we'll get to when we talk about Legion stuff.
Instead of it being unique, it's got 2 dots, which I assume means you can have 2 of them in your list. Have we seen that yet before in X-Wing, where they've had like limited
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
I can't remember.
I'm pretty behind on my X-wing, but I'm
That
pretty
sounds
sure
like a
that's been
second
around for a
edition
while.
thing to me.
This is the one that got everyone real excited.
Hey!
Rebel Fenrau. Fenrau is a very
Yeah, like
popular.
that.
Speaking of which, I think I still have an alt art card of Scum Fenrau from the worlds where second edition was right on the horizon. In any case, hit me up. I'll sell it to you.
Well,
Somebody
he's
who wants.
also a confirmed gamer. He is a
Fenrau? Oh,
tabletop
yeah.
gamer.
He plays a Stabble. I think is what
It's like Scrabble, but you get to
With
stab
knives.
the person.
I think that's what the team called that game in the episode, Stabble. I think it's called Cubicod in lore.
That sounds right.
Because COD is Mandalorian for sword.
Mm.
I am a sucker for in-universe games. Fenrau for the Rebels is exciting.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I think they didn't.
So he's got like a support ability on this one, not like an offensive ability.
And I assume that this also implies we'll probably be getting like more generic Rebel Fang Fighter cards as well in the
Yeah, that
pack.
could be.
I
I
would
could
assume
see that.
so.
But yeah, so pack. Those are the only two cards they showed us from the pack of Mandalorian cards. So there'll probably be a lot more. Here's another art they showed off that I thought was cool. So presumably this version of I think it was called the Outlands TIE Fighter, they said, is coming to X-Wing. It was not clear whether this will just be like a title card you can equip to a regular TIE Fighter, or if they're releasing a new model that...
With foldy wings.
Yeah, with foldy wings, even though they would never be folded in combat. But pretty art.
Yeah, it was really cool art. I think this was another one that they kind of showed off some of the concept artwork for and stuff. I think another big announcement is that the squad builder is going away. The official squad builder app.
Click on that tweet.
Okay.
No, hey, look at that.
Oh, here's Evan's passive aggressive reply. So scroll down a little bit. We've got Gavin Duffy here explaining why. Former Fantasy Flight employee explaining why it is being shut down. My assumption, it's just, I'm sure it costs a lot to maintain, and I'm sure they also know nobody uses it because there's so many third-party squad builders out there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's certainly a good assumption to make, that they're very aware of that. I guess as someone who doesn't use it on a regular basis, I thought it was great in concept for them to be able to update points basically not on the fly, but you didn't have to go searching for the latest FAQ to get it if you were someone who needed it at hand.
The concept was great. When they first announced it was second edition, I was actually really excited about that. But the app was garbage. It always has been, and they've never really put any effort into really improving it. Like the interface, like the UI was almost unusable. In it was a really bad way to build your list. I mean,
I did use it a couple times after I purchased my starter and booster sets, whatever, conversion sets. And I thought it was fine, but I'm sure if people had better stuff that they would just keep using that. But I don't know. Like I said, I didn't use it that much. I just thought it sounded like a good idea, but
Yeah, the
I guess that's what happens when you fire your app developers, huh?
Yeah, well, you know what? They were
They deserved it.
they were not doing a very good job in the first place.
All right,
I
all
think
right.
the only downside I can see really is the moment they release a PDF of the new points and what ships are allowed to take what upgrades, you're not going to be able to build a list until all of the third party guys get their tools updated. Whereas before, that would have been, ready to go immediately on the official app. So if you want to make a list the second new stuff becomes available, you're going to have to wait however long it takes for, people to update their things.
Yeah, I mean they're usually pretty fast, but at the same time, it sucks that they're kind of putting the the pressure on these guys.
Yeah.
I mean, technically they're not, because you can just use the PDF and go through it, but absolutely nobody's gonna do that.
Right.
Um, Now they did mention a couple things that we're gonna get to a little bit later that will actually, in some ways, maybe make the squad builder app a little less relevant anyway.
Yes.
But some of the new stuff they talked about was for official play is that they're doing round limits now. A game is going to be limited to 12 rounds.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
they had a lot of things that like this is going to be some controversial stuff, and I love the round limit sounds so cool. They said 12 rounds is standard. If you want a quicker game, make it 8, longer game, whatever. Because they mentioned technically if you're not on a time limit, which official rules don't involve a time limit because that's just for tournament play. Rules is written, a game of X-Wing could last until the end of time if both players are equally matched and your dice are doing whatever. Technically, it could happen, and that's not like games can drag on, and they didn't want that
I mean,
anymore.
and they said they kind of looked at, like went back through a lot of like tournaments and stuff like that and found, like around between like, 10, 11, 12, 13 rounds, that's about how long most games ended up lasting anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's exciting. That I fans of the Jodo cast might know I burnt out on X-Wing, started to get back into it, and then I just haven't been able to find the time lately. But now I'm really excited about X-Wing, which is weird because besides round limits, one of the other things, well, things that's most exciting is they want to bring in new objectives and narrative scenarios where some of the narrative stuff is going to be organized play things, but some of it will just be like alternate modes of play with where it's not just a straight fight where there are objectives and they're going to be looking for new ways to implement objectives, probably kind of like Legion. That's one of the things I love about Legion is there's things you need to think about other than just killing the other team.
And they did mention official campaign base play for the game. So that actually like over a series of missions, like kind of like leveling up your pilots and stuff like that. Sounds very cool.
Sounds like they've been listening to our show.
Yeah, it's something we've been asking for a long time.
Yeah. There was that, I don't know if it's still maintained, but back in the day there was that Legends of the Aturi cluster where some people came up with a custom campaign.
Heroes of the...
What did I say?
You said Legends.
Oh, okay. Heroes of the Aturi cluster is a thing, where you have a basic pilot and then you do these missions, and it had like basic AI, which they have now because over the pandemic they released solo play rules. So that sounds really fun to get together with a group of friends and go through these missions cooperatively or play solo and level up your pilot. That sounds really cool and exciting, and I love all the narrative and objective things they're bringing. Yeah. They said as far as organized play goes, for like tournament stuff, they're gonna look into adding a banned slash restricted list for organized play, which is something they don't take lightly, but I think that's healthy for any game of this size and
I'm
competitive nature.
I'm really on the fence with that. Like, especially banning. Like, I almost feel like I would rather see. Well, I hope if they do it, it would be a temporary thing. Like maybe if we get a situation like with Jump Masters, you know, how long ago, where they were just completely
Yeah.
dominating the tournament scene. They might say, okay, Jump Masters are restricted to one per list for now, and then later they come back and they errata the ship.
I would think so, because that was the point of second edition with not putting the upgrade slots and the points on the card, is that they could fix those sorts of problems that way. So maybe if something comes up and they say, okay, this is banned until the next points update, when ta-da, it's actually 10 times as expensive and your favorite ship can't equip it anymore or something like that. But
Yeah, but to just like permaban things, I hope that's not the route they plan on going for. I hope it's
yeah,
a
with how flexible,
stopgap until they figure out how to errata
yeah,
stuff.
Yeah, but I think if anything, they'll ban specific combinations rather than just saying you cannot use this card flat out. Period. Done. I think it's far more likely because we saw that with
And with Destiny,
uh and well, yes. Oh, actually, you're right. Destiny early on we saw that like the second wave, but then also LCG had that same kind of restriction. If you have this pod, you can't have that pod, but you can have either one, just not together.
oh yes,
So I
yep,
think
yep.
that's likely and very reasonable.
the other big shakeup that they thought would be the most controversial, and I haven't looked into it because I don't keep up with the X-Wing discourse, but I imagine a lot of this really angered a lot of people. I think it's great is they're removing the point bid system entirely. If you're unfamiliar, when you build a list, you know, you build up to 400 points worth of stuff. When you go to a tournament, let's say my list costs 390 points and your list costs
Isn't it
399
200?
points or 400 points, I get to be first player. Or I get to choose who gets to be first player. So basically, you leave a gap. That's your bid. Oh, I have a 10-point bid because I'm 10 points under 400. And that's a huge part of the game and always has been since first edition, where you have to think, well, okay, I have this ship and I really want to make sure I get to move first, or I really want to make sure I get to move second. So I'm going to build my list in such a way that I have like a 20-point bid. And they're removing that entirely because they didn't like the way that made people play. Like, and so it is going to shake things up now, because now I guess it's just random. You flip a coin or something at the start of the game to see who goes first. And yeah, that's going to make
Yeah,
you
and I
change the
said,
way you make your squads.
yeah, I think, and they said some stuff like they're not 100% sure how they're gonna do it. Like they're looking at doing some stuff like, because at the end of the day, your points are kind of based on, or your score is sort of based on how many of your points of your opponents you destroy. Um, and so if you're under like that 200 point limit, like if you come in at 197, um, your opponent just automatically gets 3 points scored for them.
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
Um,
Um, I think it's cool. I like how it's taking a very, like, I don't know, gamey aspect of it out. Like, it's part of
Oh
this
yeah,
weird, like, pre-planning. I know a lot of people love it because it is the thing that most gamers are kind of into, is just trying to figure out how to work the system to
trying
your
work
advantage.
the system. But
But
I mean I guarantee that was not the uh the original intention.
yeah, And so now you're not going to be able to go into a list like knowing for sure you're going to get to go first or whatever. And that'll totally change the way you build your squadrons. And if there's no bid, people might be encouraged to take upgrades that don't normally get taken because well now I got 3 points left over. I might as well throw in this junky thing that I would have otherwise ignored in order to save for a bid. So it'll definitely change things up. Um oh
I guess
that
I've
was
been playing wrong my entire life.
um so the next thing they talked about, more exciting stuff, is more card packs. Um Actually, I'll back it up to keep talking about organized play. This picture we're seeing here, you can blow it up if you want, is a promo card for an upcoming organized play event. And I think they have two coming out early next year. And the organized play events they announced, they have scenarios. One of them they described is basically like Rocket League, where there's an abandoned droid token and the ships like can pick it up and pass it to each other. They bump it around and they're trying to get it into some goals. And it's basically spaceship soccer. And it sounded very cool. And they said if your ship gets destroyed, there's like respawn points. Um, so that sounds super fun to me. This is one of the just the promo cards, and this is something they said they're trying to do more with. They have these, I think these are tarot size cards, tarot, whatever, where they
Tarot.
have the the upgrades built into the card
Mm-hmm.
with the text and everything. And this is something that'll be useful for new players. It's sort of like the quick build cards, except it's all on the card rather than telling you which cards you need to get. And it's fun alt art.
Yep. And I think
So
they
the
said that these pre-built cards are gonna have like their own point value and be legal um,
yeah, that's
in kind of like standard play.
and they said there might be times where like if you build Ayla Sakura without maneuver, extreme maneuvers, afterburners, and R2D2, that might come out to more points than if you just spent the points on this card, things like that. Or there might be times where on this card, because if we look at uh they the card packs are coming out, they said a lot of them are very thematic, so there might be a card that has a an upgrade built in that you couldn't take otherwise, because the card packs that they're coming out with, full of these types of cards, one is the Battle of Yavin, and then the other is the Siege of Coruscant. And so they'll have these pre-built ship cards that are all themed around that. So you'll have, Luke and he'll have R2 connected, and you'll have like Vader and Biggs and all those guys. And not only do they come with all those cards that'll be themed around those things, they're going to have the custom scenarios. So there'll be official trench run scenario rules, which sounds really exciting to me. Because it's just all ways to kind of make getting to your game more quick and uh
See, I knew we had a picture of the
oh,
dial on here somewhere.
there it is. Yeah, there's a lot going on there. I'm just very excited for all of the objective narrative campaign special scenario stuff for X-Wing because I think that'll be a lot of fun. Because then like we talked about in narrative wargaming, it's fun to tell a story when you're playing, and having the objectives makes it a lot more fun to tell a little story as you're playing along. But I think that's all the X-Wing
Yep,
stuff.
that's for the most part all of it. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of excited about, and we've kind of mentioned this before how Atomic Mass seems to be a little bit more focused on the casual and like hobbyist side of the game rather than the competitive side. And I think a lot of this stuff that they mentioned here today uh, kind of shows that. And
Yeah,
and I think some of the stuff we're going to be talking about for Legion is going to um, kind of show that as well. Um, All right. Well,
Yeah, let's
again,
hop into Legion.
Yep.
Scroll
Well,
down. Start with the infantry support.
yep. So yeah, we finally got to see the infantry support cards.
This ugly thing.
God, that thing is still so ugly. Yep.
It's real dumb looking.
I don't like that it's like like every angle of it also has a weak point almost, except for head on.
Wow.
Head on. Applied directly to the forehead.
Um,
Remember head on?
yes.
Oh,
yes.
Did you know that it was just like nothing? There was no medicine in it.
It was just like chapstick.
I
You would rub it
mean,
on your forehead.
pretty easy to guess.
I
It
guess
wasn't like, oh, I wonder if this is any good. I should look it up. It's like, don't even need to do that. Yeah, this is ugly.
Yeah, even if it was really good, I wouldn't want it in my army.
I can't
Yeah,
tell if it
I
is real
mean-
good or not. Anyways, it just looks
Yeah.
fine. It just looks like another thing, I guess.
It's got speed 3. It's
Armor 3,
armor 3,
Yeah, that's
which
fine,
is all right.
but
guess.
it's weak everywhere. The upgrades, I think, are where it's gonna become interesting because it has all these different gun attachments
Yeah.
and pilots.
Being able to do fire support is very cool. Let's see,
Especially
what
when
is
you
its-
can have a
Yeah, its main weapon is, or its built-in weapon's pretty weak, so you would only want to
Yeah,
do it.
you would-
But
I think it's cool that there's a hardpoint upgrade that gives you Gunslinger. So you can it's a 6 die attack, but you can like reduce it by half to have Gunslinger. So you can throw 6 dice at one guy or 3 dice at 2 different guys. And that seems kind of neat.
yeah, especially with critical too.
Yeah, I hate critical
that's
too.
decent.
I mean, I hate critical. I think it's the dumbest keyword in the game, and it ruined Legion. Legion's broken. That's my opinion. So these were cool because they said they needed more stuff, but like canonically there wasn't anything else for this vehicle, so they worked with Lucasfilm and they designed these things and like, does this look Star Warsy and fine? Can we put this on the front? And they're like, yeah, cool, go for it. So these two things didn't exist in Star Wars before this game, and then they designed it, sort of like the Imperial Raider back in the day.
Yeah.
There was a hole in the game, and they worked with Lucasfilm to fill it.
It's kind of interesting. The missile pods have that optional gunslinger ability as well.
Yeah, but those are only Impact too. Impact is like the poor man's critical.
Yeah. But
Tell us more about Critical, Joe.
You know what? Know what I like, especially playing as a rebel player, is how you have access to a lot of dodges. Your guys have nimble. You've got Leia and the generic commander and portable scanner. You hand out dodges all over, and then somebody with critical attacks you, and you're only facing crits, and you can't dodge anything, and your heavy cover is useless, and they're all dead. And I blame critical for everything.
Critical Legion theory.
Yeah.
No, we need to get this critical out of our tables.
At any rate, so that's
That one's boring.
that's
I think.
the infantry support platform. It's boring. I don't really.
Yeah,
care about
they
it.
started on a boring way, and they finished it. They finished this presentation strong, I'd say.
This is exciting. So they started by here is just kind of finishing showing off the Kashyyyk stuff we hadn't seen already. I'm excited for this guy.
If you're a CIS player, this is
that how
this is
you
gonna be
pronounce
pretty
that?
rad. Yep.
Persuader class.
11 hull.
That's pretty good.
Armor Arsenal
Yup.
2. So this is a new thing here. This programmed.
Yes, that exists on the Spider Droid as well.
Yes, and so and you got to equip one of these
Program upgrade
program
cards.
upgrade cards, and they showed us a few of those wrong.
Defense protocols. So there's what? Defense, skip through ahead real quick. Attack and engagement. So basically you get AI dodge, AI aim, or AI move, except they come with a little bonus. So if you have AI aim, you get precise 2. If you have AI dodge, you get nimble and outmaneuver, which seems very good for a...
Yeah, if you do attack move, you get nothing.
Yeah. And there's the art. I loved that art.
Yeah. I think they said something like where rather than depicting like an actual thing from like the movies or something, they sort of wanted it to show like what's going on inside the droid brain or something like that. Which
Yeah.
It's
they said it's
I
one of
very,
the one of the few
Netmonnery.
abstract pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
I
this,
thought we were looking at some ice here for a second.
yeah.
I think it's great. I'm excited for that. That both of the spider droid and the snail droid, the persuader.
But now,
Way
what
cooler
if-
than the infantry
what
support
if-
platform.
Yeah. What if this is simply a precursor to getting a new living card game called Hollow Slicer? That would be super rad.
So now we can get into some of the really cool stuff.
So
which is
scroll. Yeah,
I'd
there's
say we should watch the video, but we'd
whole
probably
thread.
get copyright hit.
of the
I don't think there's Star Wars music in it, is there?
yeah.
We could watch the video, but also if you go through this thread, everything's in there.
Yeah.
That's true.
They announced the Shadow Collective coming to the game.
So, really quick, this was hilarious to watch live because as we're chatting in Discord during all this, Leo pops in and says, I didn't get to see most of this because I was mowing the lawn, but I'm already pissed off. I hate this already.
I do hate this.
Yeah, spoiler alert, Leo hates this. I think everyone else is excited about it.
Whoa! Shocker.
First of all, the art is fantastic, and this is the art that will be on the front of a new... I don't want to call it a core box. It's like I think they call it a starter
It's an
box. Maybe
expansion
that's
box.
It's going to be a big box that comes with...
I think that's the same hill that you see Vader like sliding down on to kill some rebels. They only fight in one box canyon.
The Shadow Collective, so basically what we might call scum faction, not quite a faction. The Shadow Collective is a battle force, which I will be excited to discuss later in the...
My COVID test came back negative.
Yay!
So I'm just sick as hell. No COVID.
Yeah,
And I'm not gonna take it anymore. So yeah, go to the next tweet. I love the art. You're gonna have to go up.
No,
Click on the text. Don't click on the picture. Click on the text.
I'm just going. What?
You skipped.
What?
You skipped.
What did I skip?
Look. There's
Click
a bunch
on
of
the
tweets in
text
between
where
those
it says
tweets.
Shadow Collective.
Oh my
There you
God.
go.
Why can't
That'll
Twitter
work.
just show them all? You're the worst.
Because
Twitter.
there's too many. So they showed off the sculpt for the Falleen guys. They made note that I'm pretty sure the dude with his hands behind his backs, like the unit leaders will be, you can have them as a unit leader upgrade, or they can be like a commander in your army. I'm not too excited about these guys.
Yeah.
The sculpts look nice, but I was never into them.
One thing they did mention was that there's going to be a lot of modularity. So
Yeah.
I assume this means we're going
In
to be
all
getting,
these kits.
Yeah, that we're going to be getting lots of extra bits and
They made a point of saying that the one dude, the leader guy, he's got a lot of different head options. Oh, yeah, it says right there. Yeah,
Yep.
so then these are the Maul's Super Commandos. So these are the Maul DeLoreans. We do see Rook cast in that art, so I would assume one of these you can probably like say is her, I guess.
yeah, I wonder if she'll maybe be like a leader card for one of these or something.
Yeah. like Ursa and
That's what I was
Tristan were
expecting.
in the other ones.
Uh-huh.
So this is cool. Again, we can talk about it in more detail when we get to battle forces. These guys are only in the, pretty sure they said they can only be played in the Shadow Collective battle force. So you can't have these guys or the new version of Maul, which we'll look at next. They can't be in like a separatist army or Empire army or whatever.
Mhm.
They can only be in their own army. Because here's Maul. We'll get a couple different looks at his sculpt coming up. They did say that the card you equip him with will change his role in the game.
Spelled roll wrong. It should be
Yeah, I
ROL.
typoed that. Unless it allows you to re-roll dice, but um, a lot of people seem in the Twitch chat seem to think that meant the WYSIWYG option. So like, if you don't sculpt
Yeah,
them with this, no, they just said the upgrade card. So I'm
Yeah, it just
yeah.
means like if you have, I imagine if it's one, he's going to be more of like a get up in your face kind of guy, and if you have a different upgrade, he might be more of a tanky type one.
Yeah.
That's all
I'm
they
not
meant. I don't think that.
super thrilled with that sculpt.
Yeah, it doesn't look as bad in this render, but
as
we have
as
one of
it
the-
did painted.
Yeah, I think we'll get to it. The
Yeah.
paint ones.
Yeah,
and
I
then
don't think
some
it's
looks-
bad. I think it's.
I
think it's
did like
pretty
how
good.
they said the debris under his feet was supposed to be like stained glass from the throne room on Mandalore. I'm
Face
excited about the
noodles.
pikes. Face noodles. I never really gave these guys much thought until I saw these sculpts, and I think these sculpts are so cool looking. The other thing, that rifle they have was another thing that they invented for this game that didn't exist in Star Wars, and they got approval to like make it a thing, which is neat. The whip guy looks cool. I like the leader guy who's scheming.
I'm happy to see a lot more melee weapons in here too.
Yeah, the whip. That guy's got a little baton. I
Yeah.
think the rifle and the whip are the heavy weapons. I think the baton is probably the standard melee for all of
Mm-hmm.
them. But they're very cool minis. And it looks like they kind of leaned more towards the Clone Wars than Solo, because they're noted that
Oh yeah, they definitely did.
on the unit card they show they redact their faction. I guess we're not allowed to know quite how they fit into the wider world.
Yeah,
But they've got some new. Well, they have outmaneuver built in, which is cool. But these guys, since they're like mercenaries, is what they were calling all these types of guys, mercenaries. They have these independent. They said is going to be a keyword you're going to see in a lot of these guys. These guys have independent dodge. At the start of the activation phase, if you do not have an order token, get a dodge.
Yeah.
Self-preservation, when you panic, you can't use the courage values of units that are not the same affiliation as you. I think they said affiliation was like kind of like a mini faction.
Yeah, they basically, and they said like a lot of these guys won't be able to get orders from someone who isn't in their affiliation, so
Yeah, so the mercenary guys are going to be it's going to be very different because unlike, especially if you're used to playing separatists where you can have an order token for everybody at the start of your thing, you're going to have order tokens for nobody, and it's going to be very chaotic having these guys work for you.
And they've got Gersens.
They got what?
Gersens.
Oh, they got
Gersens
Gersens
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gersense, they sense Germans.
Oh. Yeah, you're right. It is Gersens. In the north, it's Ger. In the south, it's Ger.
It was just to look at some of the upgrades for it. Yeah, like you said, the heavy weapon upgrades. There's the rifle or the electro whip. Electro whip is pretty much the same as the other electro whips we've seen.
I like the art on Kessel.
Mm-hmm.
That disruptor rifle is that puts out a ton of damage.
Yeah, 3 and range 4. Range 4 is a big deal.
Yeah, that's good range. Oh, and Impact 1. That's nice.
So here's
For a
this is
rifle?
interesting too, because we've got the foot soldier, who's basically the default like trooper
+1.
upgrade, the personnel, which
Mhm.
up until now has just been like add another of this type, add another rebel trooper, add another stormtrooper. This actually adds more. Uh, so you add another foot soldier guy, but you get cash aim one. So you just put an aim token on that card, and then you can spend it. So basically, you get a free aim token to use whenever you want throughout the game, which not huge, but that's pretty neat. And I like that
It
it
can
looks
make a
like
difference.
they're making these like generic extra dudes a little bit more meaningful than just another body.
Well, and I loved that you have this keyword even if this mini is defeated. Like, that's not bad. Maybe that means less in the grander scheme of things, but
I think it
I think
avoids
that's a cool thing.
yeah, it definitely avoids having to define which of your extra dudes was brought in by that card, because normally you don't
Yeah.
care unless it's a heavy weapon. Yeah, and then there's the Capo, who's the leader mini. Independent Surge. So, okay, so he's that same thing where if you don't get an order, you get a Surge. So if he's there, you're getting a dodge and a Surge at the start of your turn. Do they have any Surges? I didn't see.
They surge
I don't
on
know. I
defense.
missed it.
Only on defense, okay.
So this would let you also surge on offense. But the capo can also be taken as a generic, not really
Commander.
generic, but a commander.
Okay, and then they said that the keyword that's clipped out here by the little sensor box is called aid, and that's the Pike Syndicate symbol. So if you would get an aim, dodge, or surge token, another friendly Pike affiliation guy, range 1 and line of sight, can get that token instead. If they do, you gain a suppression. So it seems like it's kind of like um, the rebel guy can hand out a dodge, the Empire guy can hand out an aim. It's kind of like that, but more versatile, except it suppresses you, which is kind of interesting. But also, I can't tell by the way that box is there if there's an action thing, because the take cover and what's the Imperial
I don't
one
think
called?
it doesn't look like there's enough
Yeah.
room for an action.
Actually, it doesn't matter. You would just take that action yourself, except for Surge. You can't take a Surge action.
Yeah.
But
So it probably just says aid 1, or just aid. You think?
yeah, just
Probably
aid.
just aid, because the box goes about as far as DAN here. So
Yeah.
just,
Okay.
yeah.
Yep, that guy seems solid. Oh, all right. Let's talk about battle forces, because I'm very excited about
Yes.
battle
Let's.
forces. So they said that these are going to be not like a different faction, but sort of. I can't quite remember exactly how they described it. Essentially, it's going to be a list of this like kind of sub faction that's just a battle force. For example, there will be the Shadow Collective battle force and a Echo Base Defenders and Blizzard Force, which will be Hoth themed. So basically, this will give you a list of units that you are allowed to build your list with. So I'm assuming if you're building Echo Base Defenders, you'll be able to bring like Luke, Han, Tauntauns, T-47, Rebel Veterans. You probably won't be allowed to bring Cassian or Jin, things like that. And so that's what that is, except not only I think they said these will come with, maybe there's not scenarios specific to those. I think maybe I'm getting ahead of myself with organized play, but there will be unique command cards for these battle forces. So there's going to be command cards you can only have in your deck if you have the Echo Base battle force. So it's very like, here's how you can build your army with these very thematic restrictions that give you thematic bonuses in battle, which sounds really cool. And with the Shadow Collective, like we said, the new Maul and those Mandalorian guys, they can only exist within that Shadow Collective battle force. Whereas the Pike guys, they can be there, but they could also work for other people.
Yeah, they just haven't told us which factions we'll be able to stick them into yet.
Right. If I had to guess, we know they work with Dooku in the Clone Wars, but they also work with the Empire sort of in Solo, because the Empire is fine with Kessel operating, so. But that would be my guess. But I think that's very cool. I like building lists around themes, and now they're like, here's like an official way to,
Yeah.
like, you want to make Hoth stuff? Here's all the guys that make a Hoth army. Go for it, and
like
have
with
fun.
the clones, like I know they mentioned like the 501st is going to be one, and so there's a lot of people out there who paint theirs up as the 501st, but it'd also be cool to see them, maybe down the road get some of the other different clone divisions, as battle forces.
The droid one is not very descriptive. The droid battle force is going to be called Droid Invasion Force.
It's B1s. That's what it is.
I did. Did they say battle forces will have special command cards? List building alternatives that get special cards. And sometimes access to units that you can't take outside of those battle forces.
And
like
that actually, that made me think of, actually, it pretty much is the legendary legions from Middle Earth strategy battle game, where you might have your default lists of where characters come from, but then you have scenario-based army lists that might be combinations that don't usually go together, but because it's this very thematic scene with alliances and special characters maybe doing special things, you can build an army from that. And that's exactly what they're doing here, and I'm all about that. I'm kind of surprised that they're doing it, but I'm happy.
I feel like it also might be a new way for somebody to get in. Like, well, it's a lot, but actually, what if I only buy units that fit into this one battle force? Like, I'm only gonna buy 501st stuff. I don't even. So now it's not only like I'm gonna buy not even just the Republic faction. I'm gonna just buy what fits into this battle force. Like, I could see that making entry easier for some people, especially if they're more casual and like the thematic aspect of it a lot. Oh, there's a new card pack coming out. Oh, sorry, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just nothing super consequential, just that well, I suppose that's less capable. I was gonna say you could paint up your models. You can buy generic models, but paint them up to be whatever you want them to be to fit your list. But I guess since weapons aren't universal, that is less applicable than I was thinking it might be. So carry on.
This new card pack. We love card packs. This one is basically to fix some of the bounty hunters. Because the new guys, like we had said, have these like mercenary rules where you can fit them into different armies. And so I guess Boba, Cad Bane, and Bosk are getting new unit cards that will reflect those rules, so you could put them in different armies.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll make them so they can also be part of Shadow Collective type stuff too. And
yeah.
There was another thing they mentioned was Vader. He's getting some big changes. He's getting a compel core unit ability, and they're adding a command upgrade slot to him.
Yeah, so the Rebels and Empire are going to get a lot of updates in errata because those are the ones that have been around the longest and need the most attention. I don't remember if
Yeah,
they
they
said
do.
it was
Yeah,
Commander Vader or Operative Vader that's getting all these big
I
changes.
think it's
I was about
Commander.
to ask, but I figured Commander.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's really apparent like when you play like Rebels, especially a list made out of mostly early Rebels units versus like clones, because clones are just like non-stop keywords triggering and going off. It's like, oh, it's the start of the round. I get to give these guys 5 surge tokens, and
Oh
when
my
this guy
gosh.
activates, he gives these guys some surge tokens, and they just have a lot of shit going on. And then it's like
That's a lot of
with the rebels, it's just sort of like, my troopers have nimble, so that's cool.
tokens.
Um, so
Oh,
I don't know. I'll be curious to see how they change things up. I don't know. One big change I think that they talked about was that they're changing how you do the battlefield cards, rather than because normally you make a deck of 12 cards, 4 of each of the 3 different categories, and then you deal out 3 of them, and then one is just automatically eliminated from each category right off the bat. But they're changing it so instead you deal out all 4 cards, and then each player only gets. I mean, and then each player still only eliminates 2 cards, so it makes it harder for blue player to be able to force um, uh, a favorable scenario for themselves.
Yeah, I like that. And that might affect how point bidding works in Legion because maybe being blue player won't be as sought after.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, because sometimes depending on the situations, there's some pretty crazy amounts of bidding going on in Legion
Yeah.
sometimes. Let's see. We looked at the pikes and their whips, and this is all the tweets we already looked
Oh,
at.
there we go. There we go. Now we got organized play. So they said they wanted to bring more unique and interesting game experiences to Legion, um, and they want to add more value to your collection. I think Legion already has that way more than X-Wing does, like we said, because Legion is built around these scenarios and objectives. But like X-Wing, where they have 2 new organized play kits coming out next year that have scenarios, the Legion ones also have um, some scenarios. So yeah, the kits come with these scenarios with new rules and stuff. And they said one is called Unnatural Resources, where there is a roaming Dianoga that terrorizes the battlefield. So I guess that I mean that sounds cool. I don't know what the objective is, but that there's like, going to be this like AI controlled creature that just runs around slapping your dudes sounds fun to me.
Yeah, I mean, you made a scenario like that once, like with a Wampa or something, didn't you? At one point.
I used the Imperial Assault Rancor, and we tried to do something like that. It was imbalanced when we tried it, but it was still pretty fun.
I mean,
Um,
doesn't that also goes back to our narrative wargaming episode? Balance doesn't need to really be as much of a consideration in that kind of a case.
right. The other one was a scenario for skirmish mode, where they said it's a heist scenario. So one player is trying to steal some goods, and the other player is trying to stop them. They said it's asymmetric, so I'm not sure if that meant
Mm.
the list building, like one player gets more points than the other one. They did say that out of everything they've ever done, that scenario resulted in like the most screaming and laughing and yelling out of everything they've done, and they so that's interesting, and that sounds potentially pretty fun.
I wonder if it's going to be kind of like some of those missions, like in Imperial Assault, where it's like the mission objective is for the rebels is to like grab these 3 crates, so you can kind of like
Mm.
so you charge in and try and get those, and And I think when they say asymmetric, I wonder if they, because I think they've done that like from what, at least from what I've read of some of like their Marvel Crisis Protocol OP things, where they've done things where it's all like, it's, you know, they create like a big, like a beefed up version of Magneto, and then you put together a team to fight against this beefed up version of Magneto in the campaign. So it's like many versus one, but the one is like way stronger than he normally would be.
I assume that's probably going to be the case for Vader Down, which is something they had mentioned wanting to do a long time ago, and they said it's still something they're working on, adapting the Vader Down comic into a scenario thing. So that's all very exciting. Oh yeah, there's way more to talk about still.
Yes, other stuff they have coming in the future. I mean, still a ways out, like they said. So like 2022, late 2022, or into 2023.
Yeah, they said that this is stuff that they normally wouldn't like talk about, but because their timelines have been, you know, delayed by the world, they want to like share some of this stuff with us earlier than they normally would.
Well, I mean, earlier than they normally would. You mean like a year and a half ago when they put up that slide that said Mandalorian plus Legion?
Yeah.
So yeah, more Mandalorian stuff. They said, you know, the Mandalorian child, IG-11, Moff Gideon, Dark Troopers are all things we can kind of expect to be coming to the game. And then we got a look at some swoop bikes, which are very cool.
They look great.
I like this a lot. Hopefully there's going to be a scenario where you get to chase Dash Rendar through Beggar's Canyon. I really have every finger crossed for Dash Rendar chase scenario.
What I want is I need to look at Star Wars Demolition, the video game, and what were playable in that, and see how close we are to being able to recreate that on Legion. Because there's an ATST, there's like a speeder.
That's a funny way to mispronounce Bombad Racing.
I still want. I think it would be fun to try and figure out make a race game mode for Legion, where, you know, one guy's got the X34, one guy's got a T47, one guy's got the Imperial speeder bikes, and the other guy's got the swoop bikes. Figure out a way to like make a Mario Kart kind of deal.
I'm really bothered by the fact that they have this character holding their blaster, but it's clearly still in the holster here also.
Well, when he's done with that one, he just chucks it and grabs the next one.
Oh, it's just like Reaper in Overwatch. Whenever you have to reload guns, his character doesn't actually reload his guns. He just drops them and he draws 2 new shotgun pistols. And I don't know where he draws them from or anything, but he just
subspace where Optimus Prime is.
I'm assuming these swoop bikes will have a lot of different like customization.
Yeah, like
options.
you can see like the front fins on them. I mean, and even like the bodies are slightly different.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not slightly; they're a lot different actually, and stuff.
Yeah.
So, hopefully we'll get to be able to play with those a lot.
They didn't say what what faction or anything. They just said, here they are, they're coming.
I assume
and they showed us
they're
the
going to
picture.
be some kind of mercenary type thing.
Yeah.
And then also this guy.
Heyo!
Yeah, Boba
Look at
Fett.
that guy.
And they said, so yeah, the art is cool. Although in the show, I'm pretty sure once he puts Boba Fett's armor back on, he does not use the gaffy stick anymore, much to my disappointment.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
I'm assuming it's gonna be, they're gonna it's probably gonna have a bunch of different options. Hopefully they'll have helmet, no helmet as options.
We're starting to see the Atomic Mass signature tactical rocks in a lot of these new sculpts. At least for the hero characters. Maul had the debris he's standing on. Boba has this. None of the chuds.
Don't give them credit for tactical rocks. Don't tell GW about the old magic. They were there when it was written.
interestingly, they said he'll be in the Rebel faction, which I guess makes sense because he's too old to be in the Republic or the Separatists. And in the show, we see him shoot a bunch of stormtroopers, which leaves Rebels as the only remaining place. Unless, of course, he's also just kind of a mercenary. But they said he'll be a Rebel thing, so.
So they confirmed Ewoks coming.
That is probably the most exciting Legion news from this.
Yep.
That does
I
kind
can't
of
wait to
biggest
have
news.
I'm sure there'll be like an Endor strike team battle force with Han and the Commandos and lots of Ewoks, and that'll be.
this does make up for this
it's-
scum faction crap.
It's.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Although I will say them doing it as like this whole battle force thing, and them including more, mentioning how they're going to be bringing in more battle forces. I do like that idea a little bit better than a straight up scum faction. Like
They
like
did
lots
say
of
that.
people thought was going to be for a long time.
Yeah, they. I think I'm pretty sure they said that was like they started with that, and then they like walked it back and like, no, we can make it a lot more interesting and thematic and make more sense.
And also Ahsoka is going to be coming.
Unlike some other characters, like she would need a different sculpt to put her in the different like R2D2. You can play him on Rebels and Republic. Ahsoka should be able to fit in Rebels and Republic as well, but the sculpt would have to be different. So I wonder, because they're dumping all this Mandalorian stuff, I'm wondering if it's going to be old Ahsoka. But I feel like the game would benefit more from Padawan Ahsoka for the Republic faction.
You're gonna be able to buy an Ahsoka 3-pack with
I'd do it.
It's gonna have a Republic and a Rebels Ahsoka in it. Two Republics. You'll be able to get young and slightly less young Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Tube top Ahsoka.
That's exciting. Not as exciting as Ewoks. Ewoks is gonna be so fun. I'm gonna buy a thing of stormtroopers just so I can like put their mutilated bodies on my Ewok bases and stuff.
That's
Have
what bits boxes are
all
for.
the stormtrooper helmets and stuff.
Yeah, I want to have the. I hope there's a unit of like
Man,
the xylophone
Are they going to
guy.
have a musician?
Yeah,
Yes.
musician piece. Well, he'll have the inspire keyword, obviously.
They got to have a musician and a banner bearer. It can just be like a dead stormtrooper on a stick.
I need the horn guy.
Yes.
Oh man, do you think that they will have like 3PO in the chair as a unit for Ewoks?
And with the hover ability.
And he has just he has like some kind of like inspire ability or something like that for Ewoks.
Or cause fear.
The Wizards of the Coast Star Wars miniatures game had that unit. It was called C-3PO Ewok Deity, I think is the name of the thing. It was a very cool mini, just him in the wooden chair. It can't move. It just sits on the battlefield. The only way you could move it is if you had someone with force push or something like that. And I think it just had like a blanket buff for Ewok characters. It was neat. I think we need the hang glider guy. We need some kind of command card that lets you place traps on the battlefield
Log
before
traps.
the game
I
starts.
was just thinking about that.
Some kind of log trap that you place 2 tokens, and then if a vehicle walks through, you can reveal them, and it does like impact 10 attack on something.
Yo, I want to see the sculpts for like the Ewok catapults. Like those would be cool.
Yeah.
I want low gray. I want in the Wizards of the Coast miniatures game, the low gray, he was able to use force powers because he's like a shaman. So I want low gray to have a force upgrade slot. I want Tebow, I think his name is, the skunk-looking one with the skull.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
he's got a skull. I want him to have some sort of like brutal keyword. I want him. I want all the unique ones.
And
As
the
operatives.
the gliders.
Yeah, the gliders.
Oh, and if you can get your Ewoks up to like height 3 or whatever, they can drop the sack onto the enemies.
Oh yeah, we need to get some of the other lore from the cartoon, the invisible berries or whatever. I mean, at that point, we can just make that the whole game. We can have the Ewoks, just anything that's on Endor, and the game doesn't need to go farther than that. We can get a Gorax eventually. Forget an AT-AT mini. We get a Gorax. You could probably just mod like a 12-inch action figure into being a Legion scale Gorax.
Huh.
What is it in
Steiner
Ewok
made his
Hunt?
wrestling debut.
Oh wow!
What do you know?
Didn't realize. Oh. What is it in Ewok Hunt that they like
Wisties.
shoot out?
Yeah.
Wispies?
Wisties. Which are
They need
like basically
some of
little
that.
fairies that they enslave, and then they throw at
Probably.
people, and
They are
like
cannibals.
it's basically like if you had a bag full of wasps that you chucked at your enemies, except instead of wasps, they were little Tinkerbells who maybe have feelings and desires and dreams.
Hey, I smell an upgrade.
Yeah, I want a Wisty Sack attack.
It sounds like a late night snack. Go and get some Wisties. I got a Wisty
Don't
attack
wake up,
coming
Mom!
We're some
those-
get some Wisties, Mom.
Are those Wisties? Shh.
Are you eating Wisties at this time of night?
They like glow. They've got whatever you put in glow sticks. It's like a cereal that glows in the dark. Anyway, that's everything from Ministravaganza.
That was literally the last words of the Legion stream. Was they said Ahsoka confirmed,
and then bugged out
as they signed off.
I think and
I'm
they
disappointed
said,
that they didn't say Ahsoka lives.
It's not, you can't be ambiguous with gamers and stuff like that. Yeah. They hate that. I think they said the rules update and points update stuff come their end of this month or next month or something like that, so soon-ish.
On their own website, or
I'm gonna go ahead and hope that it shows up on their website on the page where they had posted that little tiny rules update.
Why? Why is my cousin took the vaccine a trending?
Do you want to know? I know why? I can tell you exactly why. Do you want to know?
Yeah.
Why?
Nicki Minaj's cousin's friend took the vaccine and his junk shriveled up, and that guy's fiance in Trinidad, and his fiance called off the wedding because his junk shriveled up, undoubtedly because of the vaccine and not like an STD or something like that.
Yeah, makes sense.
So that's why it's trending. So don't get vaccinated, otherwise your dick will shrivel up. It's actually the opposite. Ever since I got vaccinated, I'm too big.
Swelled up.
It's too big. It's hard to walk these days.
All right, well.
See,
on that
on that note, so they ended with Ahsoka confirmed. We end with I can't even say it.
Vaccine dick embiggenment confirmed.
Embiggened.